Started. Hey everyone, welcome. This is the Wednesday 5:30 mindfulness meditation half hour. Feels like Friday to me. Does anybody get that today? It's caught me a couple of times. Reading a Thich Nhat Hanh book. My favorite Zen Buddhist writer, poet, activist. He was actually, some people don't know this, he was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize by Martin Luther King Jr. in 1968, I believe. So that shows you he's on the level, so to speak, with nonviolence and peace. And I think that his writing, not only from a Buddhist philosophy perspective, but just a mindfulness and meditative perspective, I think that he has some really deep and profound things to say about establishing and cultivating mindfulness and meditation practice. And in one of his books, he says that anything that you do mindfully is meditation. And I love that because it's true. There's different kinds of meditation. There's meditation standing up, lying down, sitting, right? Meditation in stillness, which is what we're going to practice today, and meditation in movement, mindful movement. Yoga is a perfect example of meditation in movement because we get that flow. We're syncing up the movement of our body with the breath, and the breath is key here. Mindful awareness of breathing is what connects us to our body. Oftentimes our mind is disconnected throughout the day. Our body and breath are firmly in the present moment, which is good. Otherwise we have some serious problems in our lives. But the mind is constantly projecting into the future. It's constantly reaching back into the past, and it likes to tell stories. And we can't really fault it for that because that's its job. The mind's job is to categorize and think about things, to create problems, and to then try to solve the problems that it creates. Unfortunately, we buy into those stories. We wrap ourselves up in these problems that our mind has created, and then we think that that is reality, when really they're just thoughts. And those thoughts may be very powerful. They may be accompanied with really strong emotional, physiological sensations that we feel, which make it all feel all the more real. But ultimately and gratefully, that's not true reality. True reality, we can touch that state of being, that dimension, through a meditation practice. Because what we're doing when we meditate, we're not trying to fight our mind. We're not trying to shut off our mind. All we're doing is directing our concentration away from the thinking mind and bringing it to the present moment. And we do that through the breath. So anything done mindfully, anything you do mindfully is meditation. However, it is so easy to fall out of that mindful state when you are driving, when you're doing the dishes, when you're on your phone, when you're in motion. It can be almost impossible to stop, get mindful, and stay mindful, right? You may find a moment here and there, but throughout the day, there's a kind of constant motion, and you start to feel as though you're not able to stop physically and mentally, right? So by sitting down and becoming still on a physical level, starting there, connecting with the breath, we start to cultivate an inner kind of stillness. And that stillness is so important because that is the foundation of mindfulness. And so if we can practice consistently coming back to our breath as we sit still, if we can practice continuing to get mindful, to stay present, that practice will then expand into our active life, as we could say. So meditation on some level is not very interactive physically because we're sitting still, but I like to think that it is interactive because we are directing that attention inward, right? So today, okay, so there are many different kinds of meditation, one of which you can use a bell. And I like that style of meditation, especially if you're beginning. I recommend it because the bell is an external reminder to come back to yourself. And when you first start a meditation practice, it can be very, very easy to just get so distracted. And that's how you spend your meditation. So if you have an outside source to invite you back to the present moment, invite you back to your breath, to your body, to the now. That can be very, very helpful. And then eventually you'll get it on your own, and you won't necessarily need the bell. The other day, I downloaded an app on my phone for a bell, and I set it for every 5 minutes for 25 minutes. And the first bell went off, and I got still and started to connect with my breath. And then no bell went off after that. None of the other bells went off. I guess it was a mistake on my part, trying to dial it in, but no other bells went off until the very, very end. So what I found, however, was that there was a kind of anticipation for the bell to be rung. And in being anticipatory for that bell ring, it sharpened my focus and my concentration, because I didn't know if one of the bells was going to ring. I didn't know if any of the bells were going to ring, but just knowing that there was a potential invitation back to myself, it allowed me to have a clearer and sharper focus of coming back to my breath, because I didn't want to be caught off guard when the bell rang, if it did. And of course, there's nothing wrong with being caught off guard. The practice is to come back to your breath. And so in order to be still, we also need to be relatively busy, so to speak. And that's what creates the practice, the ebb and flow of mindfulness and being distracted. The mind pulls your attention away from the breath. We find that, we recognize it, and we come back to the breath. We try to do that without any judgment or criticizing, because those things are on the level of the mind. And when we meditate, we can go deeper than that. So find a comfortable seated position. I'm going to start today's meditation with the bell, and I may or may not ring the bell again. So make sure that your spine is straight, relax your shoulders, close your eyes, and start to simply notice your breath. As you breathe in, notice that you're breathing in. And as you breathe out, know that you're breathing out. You may notice that as soon as you direct your attention to your breathing, your breath automatically gets deeper, longer, slower. And that's because mindful breathing opens up the door of communication to our body. It connects our mind and body. When we become aware of our breath, we suddenly start to give our body the breath that it really needs. Staying with your breath, maybe you set an intention for today's meditation, an intention to stay present and stay open to whatever may come up. Thoughts, emotions, physical sensations. See if you can be there for all of it, while being fully present, without letting those things carry you away. With the sound of the bell, we come back to ourselves. We can go deeper into our mindfulness practice. Take a few deep breaths. Start to wiggle your fingers and toes. Keeping your eyes closed, gently blink your eyes open. To meditate is to look deeply. To meditate is to see into one's own true nature. That's actually the definition of Zazen, or sitting meditation in Zen. That can be very uncomfortable. Oftentimes we don't want to look that deep, and meditation practice can bring you deep. It can be scary, it can be uncomfortable on all different kinds of levels, physical, psychological, emotionally. Our job is to not try to control any of those responses or reactions. Our job is to watch, try not to interpret, try not to tell a story around that particular experience. The purpose of meditation is to experience whatever's going on. The less you analyze or intellectually try to grasp what's going on, and the more you allow yourself to feel and breathe and be, that is the direction that the practice will take you. And I often say, I encourage you to take your practice with you. So whether or not you're sitting still with your eyes closed and being mindful, you can always return back to that mindful state with your breath. Thanks so much for showing up today. My name's Casey. See you soon.